When your kids start screaming at each other over who gets the front seat, and you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, you probably jump straight into referee mode, trying to mediate, assign blame, or teach them about fairness. But what you might not realize is that the moment you step into the middle of their fight, you're actually making the rivalry worse. There's a single phrase that stops sibling conflict almost instantly, and it's the exact opposite of what most parents instinctively do. Now I get it. When your daughter shoves her brother or your son screams "that's mine" at his sister, it doesn't just feel chaotic, it feels exhausting. It feels like your home has become a battlefield, like all your efforts to create a peaceful family are failing. Like you're raising kids who genuinely can't stand each other. Here's a scenario that plays out in countless households. Two siblings are playing in the living room. One takes a toy the other was using. The second child screams, protests, maybe hits. The parent hears the commotion, rushes in, and immediately starts asking questions. What happened? Who had it first? Why did you take it? The parent feels that surge of responsibility, the need to solve it, to make it fair, to teach them how to share. So that's exactly what happens. Investigation, judgment, solution imposed from above. And the pattern, the fighting gets worse over the next few days, not better. Here's why. Every time you intervene in their conflicts, every time you play detective and judge, every time you solve their problems for them, you're signaling to your children's brains that they can't handle conflict on their own. Without meaning to, parents signal that sibling disputes require adult intervention, that the way to get attention is to fight, that the solution to disagreement comes from outside, not from within. And that's exactly what keeps the pattern alive. I know you're not trying to create dependency. You're trying to teach them. You're trying to model fairness and conflict resolution. But your children's brains aren't processing it that way. So let's talk about what's actually happening in these moments. And if you recognize yourself here, if you've done every single one of these things, you haven't done anything wrong. These are the most natural human responses in the world. They're nearly universal among parents. Here's what happens. Your kids start fighting over a video game controller. And you immediately think, I need to figure out who's right. So you launch into this whole investigation. Okay, who was playing first? How long have you been playing? Did you ask nicely? When's the last time you got a turn? But here's the thing. When you investigate, you're teaching your children that conflicts get resolved by appealing to a higher authority. You're training them to be helpless. You're showing them that they don't need to develop their own problem-solving skills because mom or dad will always swoop in and fix it. Or maybe your kids are fighting and you can't help yourself. You immediately assign blame. You started it. You should have shared. You know better. Now you've created a winner and a loser. And even if you're right, even if you correctly identified who was at fault, you've lost something bigger. You've taught the blamed child that they're the problem. You've taught the vindicated child that tattling works. And you've taught both of them that justice comes from you, not from their ability to work things out. Or here's another one. Your children are screaming at each other and you feel that panic, that desperate need to restore peace. So you respond with, both of you need to calm down right now. Stop fighting, just share, just get along. Now you're trying to make the conflict disappear, trying to impose harmony from the outside, but all they learn is that their feelings don't matter, that conflict is bad and must be avoided, that peace means suppression, not resolution. And then there's the lecture. Your kids fight over who gets to sit where at dinner, and you deliver a 10-minute speech about family, respect, gratitude, and how they should appreciate having siblings. But every word you say past the first sentence is just noise. And the longer you talk, the more they tune out and the more they resent each other for triggering another lecture. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong for doing these things. You're doing what every caring parent does. You're trying to teach them. You're trying to keep the peace. But what you might not realize is that your involvement, your intervention, your need to solve their conflicts is actually the thing that's making the rivalry worse. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. Because once you understand what developmental psychology tells us about sibling relationships, the solution becomes completely obvious. Sibling rivalry isn't actually about the toy, the seat, the turn, or whatever they're fighting about in that moment. It's about something much deeper. It's about their fundamental question, do my parents love me as much as they love my sibling? Every conflict is actually a test. Every fight is actually them asking, who do you love more? Who's more important? Who gets your attention, your time, your intervention? And here's the crucial part. When you jump into their fights, when you investigate and assign blame and solve their problems, you're actually answering that question. You're showing them that conflict equals attention, that fighting equals mom or dad's full focus, that the way to know if they matter is to create a problem that requires parental intervention. Your involvement, no matter how well-intentioned, is actually feeding the rivalry. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you're doing it at all. This doesn't mean you ignore genuine safety issues. If someone's getting hurt, of course you intervene. But the vast majority of sibling conflicts, the daily squabbles over toys and turns, and who gets what, those don't need you. In fact, they need you to stay out of it, because here's what's actually happening in their brains. When you solve their conflicts for them, their brains don't develop the neural pathways for negotiation, compromise, and problem solving. They don't learn frustration tolerance. They don't build the skills they'll need for every relationship in their entire lives. Instead, they learn helplessness. They learn that disagreement requires rescue. They learn that their relationship with each other is mediated through you, not built between them. And when their brains realize that fighting gets your attention, that conflict brings you running, the behavior increases. Not because they're bad kids, but because their brains are wired to seek connection with you, and they've learned that conflict is the most reliable way to get it. So here's the secret phrase, the one that actually works. And I'm going to give you the exact words to use. But first, I need you to understand something. This is going to feel wrong at first. It's going to feel neglectful, like you're abandoning them, like you're failing as a parent. But that's exactly why it works. When your kids start fighting, you pause just for a beat. Not a long dramatic pause, just enough to regulate yourself. And then you say one short sentence that communicates confidence in their ability to handle it themselves. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. Here are the exact words. When they start fighting, you say, "I trust you two to work this out." That's it. Short, neutral, confident, and then you walk away. Or if they're really escalated, if voices are raised and emotions are high, you say, "You too can solve this problem. I'll be in the kitchen if you need me." And then you leave the room. Or if they immediately run to you tattling, trying to pull you in, you say, "That sounds like something you can handle together." And you redirect your attention elsewhere. Now, here's what this is not. It's not dismissive. It's not cold. It's not you washing your hands of their relationship. It's not meant to make them feel unsupported or alone. It's a calm, confident message that says, "I believe in your ability to navigate this. I trust your capacity to solve problems. I know you can handle disagreement without me, and here's why it works." First, it removes the incentive. Fighting no longer gets them your full attention. There's no investigation to participate in, no judgment to appeal, no rescue coming. The conflict has to be resolved between them, not through you. That fundamentally changes the dynamic. Second, it builds competence. When you step back, they're forced to develop their own skills. They have to negotiate, they have to compromise. They have to learn that relationships require give and take, that disagreement is normal, that resolution is possible. And every time they work something out on their own, their brains get stronger. The neural pathways for problem solving get reinforced. Third, it shifts the relationship. When you're not in the middle, their relationship is between them. They start to see each other as people to work with, not competitors for your attention. The rivalry decreases because the underlying question, who do you love more, stops being relevant. You're not choosing sides, you're not in the equation at all. Now, after you deliver that phrase, you don't keep talking. You don't hover nearby listening. You don't wait to see if they can do it, you actually walk away. You give them space, you trust the process. And if they work it out, you don't rush back in with praise and celebration. You just let it be normal. You let them experience the natural satisfaction of solving their own problem. If they don't work it out, if they're still stuck 10 minutes later, you can check in. But even then, you don't solve it for them. You might say, "Sounds like you're still stuck." What are some solutions you've tried? You coach, but you don't rescue. So what does this actually look like in practice? Let me show you exactly what this looks like in real life. Let's say your 7-year-old and 10-year-old are building with blocks. The younger one knocks over part of the older one's structure. The older one yells, "You ruined it. You always wreck my stuff." The younger one protests, "It was an accident." Voices rise. You hear it from the other room. Oh, here's what every fiber of your being wants to do. Rush in, assess the damage, determine if it was truly an accident, mediate, maybe make the younger one apologize, maybe help rebuild, definitely try to restore peace. But here's what you actually do. You walk to the doorway, you make brief eye contact, and you say, "I trust you two to work this out." And then you walk away. You go back to what you were doing. You don't listen from around the corner. You don't wait to intervene. You trust them. Your kids stare after you for a second, like they're waiting for you to come back and fix it. Then maybe the older one says, "Mom, aren't you going to do something?" And you call back calmly, "You've got this." Now here's where it gets interesting. They're stuck with each other. There's no referee coming, no judgment being issued, no parent solving it for them. They actually have to figure it out. Maybe the older one stomps off for a minute, still angry. Maybe the younger one starts rebuilding what was knocked down. Maybe they sit in tense silence for a bit. And then maybe the older one comes back and says, "Just be more careful, okay?" And the younger one says, "Okay, sorry." And they keep playing. Or maybe they come to you 10 minutes later and say, "We can't figure this out." And you say, "What solutions have you tried?" They look at each other. Nothing really." You nod. "Give it another shot. I believe you can figure something out." And you send them back. Here's what just happened. You showed them that their conflicts are theirs to solve, that you believe they're capable, that fighting doesn't earn them your attention and intervention, that their relationship with each other doesn't run through you. And over time, that becomes the pattern their brain learns. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but what if they actually hurt each other? What if one is much bigger and stronger? What if it's genuinely unfair? Great questions. Here's what you do. If there's physical aggression, you intervene immediately. You separate them calmly. You say, bodies are safe in this house. You need some space from each other right now. You create safety, but you still don't solve the underlying conflict. Later, when everyone's calm, you might facilitate a conversation, but you're not investigating, judging, or imposing a solution. You're helping them talk to each other, not mediating between them. If there's a significant age or size difference, you still use the same approach, but you might add, if you need help, I'm here. You're available, but you're not automatically assuming the younger or smaller one needs you to fight their battles. You'd be surprised how capable even young children are when given the chance. If it seems genuinely unfair, if one child is consistently dominating or bullying, that's a separate conversation you have with that child one-on-one, not in the heat of the conflict. You address patterns of behavior individually, but you still don't referee every fight. Let me show you what this looks like with different ages. A 4-year-old and 6-year-old are fighting over a stuffed animal. Both are crying, both are pulling. The parent walks in and says, "You too can solve this problem. I'll be right here folding laundry." Then continues folding, staying present but not intervening. The kids keep crying for a minute. Then the 6-year-old, realizing no rescue is coming, says through tears, "You can have it for 5 minutes, then it's my turn." The 4-year-old sniffles and nods. Conflict resolved. No parent intervention needed. Or two teenagers are fighting over the car. Both need it Friday night. Both think their plans are more important. They come to the parent expecting judgment. The parent says, "That's tricky. I trust you two to figure out something that works for both of you," and walks away. The teens are stunned. They expected the parent to decide. Now they actually have to negotiate. Maybe they trade, one gets the car Friday, the other gets it Saturday. Maybe they figure out carpooling. Maybe one changes their plans, but they figure it out and their relationship gets stronger because they solved it together. Now here's another thing parents worry about. Won't this create resentment? Won't the wrong child feel unsupported? Won't the aggressive child think their behavior is okay? And I get why that feels concerning. You don't want your children to feel abandoned or think that bad behavior has no consequences. But here's the thing, and this is important. You're not saying their conflict doesn't matter. You're saying they're capable of handling it. And that's a completely different message. After things calm down, you can absolutely check in. You can validate feelings. You can even discuss what happened. But you're teaching them that the solution comes from them, not from you. That they have power in their relationships. That conflict is normal and manageable. And here's what's crucial: consistency. This only works if you do it every single time. If you referee on Monday but step back on Tuesday, their brains don't learn the pattern. They just learn that sometimes fighting gets attention, and sometimes it doesn't, which actually increases the behavior because it becomes unpredictable. But if every single time they fight, they hit the same calm wall of parental confidence, the rivalry decreases fast. Not because you've forced them to get along, but because you've removed the incentive to compete for your attention through conflict. So what actually changes over time? This is the part that makes all of it worth it. In the first week, you'll probably see an increase in fighting. Your kids will test this new system hard. They'll fight louder, come to you more insistently, try everything to get you to intervene the way you used to. Psychologists call this an extinction burst. The old pattern worked for so long, their brains are confused. They push harder to see if the old rules still apply. This spike in conflict is normal. It actually means the method is working. They're testing the boundary. Stay consistent. Keep delivering that same calm message. "I trust you to work this out," and keep walking away. By week 2 or 3, you'll notice something shifting. The fights start to resolve faster, they come to you less. You hear more negotiation and less screaming. They might still fight, siblings do, but the intensity drops, the duration shortens. The resolution happens between them, not through you. And stick with it, whether it takes 3 weeks or 6, depending on how entrenched the pattern was and how consistent you are. Eventually, here's what happens. The rivalry transforms. Not into perfect harmony, that's not realistic or even healthy, but into normal sibling conflict that they handle themselves. Into a relationship that's theirs, not mediated through you. Into genuine connection that includes disagreement but isn't defined by it. Remember those kids from the beginning fighting over the front seat? Imagine 6 weeks from now, they both want it, and before you can even open your mouth, one says to the other, "How about you get it on the way there, I get it on the way back?" And they work it out in 30 seconds flat. No parent intervention needed. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you stop feeding the rivalry pattern. That's what happens when you trust your children to be capable. So here's what you need to remember. When your kids start fighting, pause. Deliver one confident sentence. "I trust you two to work this out," and then walk away. No investigation, no judgment, no solution imposed from above. Just calm, consistent confidence in their ability to handle their own relationship. And over time, you'll notice something remarkable. The fighting decreases, your stress decreases, their relationship improves. Not because you've controlled them into getting along, but because you've given them space to build their own relationship, complete with conflict and resolution, and all the messy, beautiful work of learning to be in relationship with another person. You'll notice they start solving problems faster. They develop negotiation skills that will serve them their entire lives. They learn that disagreement doesn't require rescue, that they're capable, that relationships can include conflict and still be strong. And perhaps most importantly, they stop competing for your attention through fighting, because fighting no longer gets them that attention. The underlying question, who do you love more, becomes irrelevant. You've shown them, through your calm non intervention, that you love them both enough to trust them, that you believe in their capability, that their relationship is theirs to build. Now, unfortunately, there's one mistake that undermines all of this. Something parents do that actually makes sibling rivalry worse, even when they think they're preventing it. It's subtle, it's incredibly common, and most parents have no idea they're doing it. I break down exactly what this mistake is and how to fix it in my next video. You can check that out.